Go all fair. There we go.
There we are. So, there we go. There's Lillian. So that's a good start here. So this will probably, like I said a minute ago, this will probably be way more brief than our typical ones. Lily, welcome to the waking world.
Hi, Lily.
Simply because we have a different group and composition that I was aiming for. My audio coming through okay? Okay. Doesn't always. One of these days I will fix my headset with the microphone on, or I'll get some sort of professional equipment. So we're going to do a quick thing about words. I think what I'll do is I'll make it kind of a little snippet on words and phrasing for suggestions and triggers, since I don't want to do the whole words thing and the whole rapport thing until we've got plenty of people available to watch. So we do have the Q&As open. I don't know how many people are going to be into this super late, unless a bunch of our English friends happen to wake up and hop on to watch. So one of the big things that a lot of people don't realize is something that you hear quite frequently with like growing up and stuff like that is to not let words bother you. And words only have the power we give them. And with what we do, we give words a lot of power. I mean, you're talking with somebody that you've established rapport with, that you've worked with for a while, where a single word can just completely knock them out of things. So whether it's an induction trigger, phrase, or a variety of other things, all of us, we tend to do the erotic stuff, so there's a lot of triggers with that. They can also work in that respect. What I will do is all of you feel free to hop in at any time and add stuff and comment, things like that. I always like the feedback so that I'm not the only one rambling non-stop and incessantly for the entirety of the video.
Because Lord knows you love to ramble.
Rude.
Totally not like you do that all the time anyways.
I'm trying to pretend to be professional for at least the duration of this. Come on.
Why bother, Jace? We all know you're not.
He's playing grown-ups. Be kind.
So yeah, even beyond the hypnosis, as far as the BDSM aspect and the dom sub stuff, is a lot of times in scenes words can be a big deal, and if they add that extra oomph and that push, whether what the word is or how you say the word, there's a lot that needs to be taken into consideration, even starting with the phrasing and the wording that you use for just a simple induction. I myself, with my style, I tend to use a lot of suggestive words with people. My style tends to be very conversational, so I'll tend to put little words and stuff like that about how much you're relaxing, or the fact that you're focusing on me. It's getting a little bit harder to think, and your muscles relax, and before long you don't realize what's going on, and you're just kind of sort of out of your mind. Up, Shelby. So little things like that, where just talking and using those words, especially with somebody that you've worked with a little bit, those little things, they hit in your brain, they're familiar. That's why the typical command for stage hypnosis, or for a lot of people for a trigger, are things like sleep, or related commands, or like I've demonstrated before, mine, drop. Up, just to be safe. So that wording and phrasing, the things that we tend to use, tend to go along with what you're doing. With hypnosis, we use a lot of phrasing about how you're sinking or you're
exactly,
going.
Shelby.
And a lot of that is because that feeling that you get along with it. And I will, if anybody wants to pop on and kind of give their maybe a quick description of exactly how trance or going into a trance, just a quick little how it feels. Anybody, so I can emphasize the word.
sure. I'll speak for the group. It's, well, as far as like when you do it with me, especially considering lately in the situation, it's just like everything. If you're like doing the full thing, like we're actually having a session and we're working, it's like a slow progressive, like everything just starts to go fuzzy and then everything just quiets down. That's the biggest thing. It's like everything goes quiet and then it's just like out. If it's like when it's instant, it's just like literally like a light switch. It's the easiest way to describe it. It's just gone. It's literally just like that.
So perfect, thank you. So little things like that, and so one that I've used in the past, especially with the light switch analogy, is using the word off as a trance trigger. Certain things that go along. What I tell a lot of people when I'm kind of starting with them or just general chatting is you always want to go with the grain of the person you're working with. If you use phrasing and words and things like that that go where they're already naturally going, then it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to get there. Because if their brain's already going towards, say they have the sensation of sinking when they're going to trance, so if you use suggestive phrases like deep and sink and down and things like that, their head's already going that direction we're going to. Or, for example, I could, if real quick, Alexis. So, we haven't done this before, but given the light switch analogy, I could probably just tell you off. And so something like that, up, up, up. That is going to, even if it's not an established trigger, because that goes right along with, that's a word that is related to associations that she has with the trance state. So even beyond that, all the way down into the suggestions that we use, to the things that we use to comfort somebody after a particularly intense scene, or even just the words we pick when we're introducing somebody to hypnosis if it comes up in conversation. So what do you like to do? I like to hypnotize people. And you always got to be careful about the wording and the phrasing that you use with that, because a lot of people are going to give you a sideways look and sort of write you off.
People are going to think you're fucking crazy. Pardon my language.
But yeah, and so even introducing what you do or this is an interest is the words you pick are so super important. One of my favorite examples, going back to the suggestion aspect, sorry for bouncing around here, is somebody that I worked with fairly recently within the last year or so. Very, very common immobilization trigger word is freeze. All over the place. I mean, that kind of thing is ingrained with us from an early age. Freeze tag, or for a lot of elementary school students, the bell rings and you're supposed to freeze in place. The bell rings again and then you run to line. Like most of us probably, at least in the United States, have experienced that as part of our elementary school system. So freeze is a very commonly associated word with your muscles locking in place in immobilization. However, this particular person that I worked with had an association in their head with freeze that also invoked the cold aspect of it. So along with that immobilization was a notable chilling sensation that I didn't even know for the first couple of times before it was finally confessed to me. So even just that word choice of freeze to lock things in place, there was that association in the head of, oh, freeze, it's cold. Oh, I'm really cold now too. Part of that is probably because the release trigger phrase that I put in for it was thaw. So you put that association, frozen and thawed, and it's just incredible the way minds can latch onto just a single word like that. So it's so very important that we pay attention to our wording and our phrasing. I don't know, Ed, do you have any particular stories on that or anything you'd like to share on that? You're muted, by the way, before you start talking.
Yeah, no, I'm muted. Let me think. Oh, yeah. So I was just talking. This was just like before, like this person was completely brand new to hypnosis. Like like just completely brand new, and I was introducing them, and so I was talking about stuff, and I don't know where I was going. Oh yeah, about the freeze trigger. So some of the first things that I do with a new subject, especially in person, is catatonia, and so I just normally just call it catatonia because that's how I learned it, and or is it catatonia? Either way, so I call it like that, and they had zero idea what I meant, but they were just going with it, and then they just flopped, and then I spent like the whole session trying to figure out, and then at the end I was like, okay, now your hand's gonna freeze here, just a random comment, and so then I just like hit it, and it stayed like that, and then after that, like I talked to the session, she's like, yeah, I have no idea what this word means, and so yes, so that's I think the only thing that can come up right now, language that's like word choices and making sure that both of you like are using the same word for something is really important.
So that is actually a really good one that I probably wouldn't have come up with on my own. So yeah, um, even something like that, like making sure that it's a word that you both associate with the same thing. We're going to go into more of that when we do go into rapport, which I'm going to want to do. Hopefully, get a little bit of an earlier start and have a little bit more involvement with everybody. But that's very, very important to make sure that you're not using a word or even a word that somebody might associate with something negative. Certain sensations, body parts, all of those things are so important with your phrasing, with the words you choose. Even onto, Shelby, did you have something?
Yeah, that also goes with knowing your subject really well. A lot of times the word itself may not be necessarily negative, but because of past experiences, if there's ever been any trauma or anything, they'll associate it with a negative thing. Even if it's just something as silly as like talking about like wooden spoons or something, that may have a negative effect on somebody. So you always want to double check. Like even if you think it's something that's really minute or minor, it's always good just to have that double check, and that does add to the rapport, which I think we're talking later about.
Very, very good. So wording. And beyond that, there's also picking the right words, not only to introduce what you do in terms of hypnosis, but also to making sure that you give a good and proper image of yourself. I'm pretty sure every single one of us has experienced that really, really traditional and that really cliche, awful predator hypnotist persona person. And that's a pretty prevalent one online, unfortunately. I wish there was something, but because of that, it's also really important that you pick the right words and phrasing when you're even talking about the things that you do. For example, I think everybody's probably heard me rant about with the erotic side of hypnosis. There's a lot of crossover with BDSM and DOM-SUB, and one of the common things that people do is they refer to a subject as a sub. And me having a background in both, a sub is a submissive is typically what I associate that with. And so a lot of people, say you've got somebody who's been interested in hypnosis forever, but they come from a BDSM background, and you start referring to people as subs, they're not going to necessarily click that the same way that you do. And so even picking the right way to describe yourself, like for me, I tend to err on the side of over-explaining things. I will typically say, oh, I work with this many people, or I have X amount of different subjects that I work with, and because different intensity. And even amongst those of us who aren't awful, terrible people with it, some people may refer to somebody as a subject or a sub that they've worked with once or twice, or they might wait until they've had 6-7 months of working consistently with that person to call them that, depending on how frequently you work together. So even being aware of how your words are going to be interpreted, and being ready and to elaborate and kind of go on what your intent is it's super important to get your intent across with the words that you're using. The little chat on the side is amusing. I apologize. So little things here and there with the words, with the phrasing, and everybody's just sort of goofing off on the sidelines there. Thanks, guys.
Well, of course. I mean, you're talking. We don't want to interrupt, so.
It wouldn't really be
Please,
proper if people
we're,
weren't
we're
goofing
blowing
off on
our
the
hearts at
side.
each other on the side.
Please interrupt. I don't want to be
Well,
the one
I
rambling
mean,
on
speaking
things.
of the way you phrase things, just it popped into my head the other day when we were chatting with my friend, and he made the subs comment. He was literally typing that you hate that term when you jumped in and you said it, because we've had this talk before about, you hate, the term, the term subs when you're talking about people, when we're talking about the family and the people that you work with and stuff. And like that just popped into my head.
So, not necessarily hate, but I'm very particular.
It's inaccurate. It's an inaccurate term.
Yeah, it's as I believe I said on the last video, just because somebody's a subject doesn't mean that they're submissive.
Mm-hmm.
And those of us who tend to go into the community a little bit, the BDSM community or Dom Sub, also know that just because somebody is submissive doesn't mean that they are towards you.
Yeah.
It's a very, very common issue that I come into is people who have all these terrible stories about people who just assume because you're submissive that they're going to be able to talk down to you.
Stupid Tumblr doms.
I was about to say, yeah, especially on Tumblr, a lot of people tend to just assume, like, oh, their ask box is open, then I'm just going to go ahead and act that way towards them. Like, if any of you guys are watching this, please don't do that. It's just...
It's annoying, and it's dumb, and it's a very bad turnoff. Like, it really is. It's the worst turnoff on the face of the planet. When you open up your inbox, and there's this random guy, and he tells you, basically, if I can express this properly, trying to figure out how to do this and censor myself.
There's a fine limit. I mean, it's going to be posted on so like Ed's throwing in the people on Omegle.
Omegle. Oh my god, yeah. It's just like immediately, like right off the bat, they're like, basically open your legs, slut. And I'm just like, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. I know nothing about you. Why? They're like, but you're supposed to be a sub. And I'm like, yes, I am a sub. I am not a doormat.
And taking that and actually rewinding to something that we were talking about before we went live was getting those like random inboxes where people just send you a script and be like, oh, hey, read this, and then automatically assume that you're going to read it and then drop for them. That's really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no like personal touch to it, and a lot of times a lot of the people that they are sending that to are taken or protected and stuff, and so it's like, boy, no, or girl.
That's one of the reasons why I'm glad that I'm not visual at all. I think the first time that I worked with you, Jason, we didn't even do text, if I remember correctly. We actually did a video session. It's been forever. I can't remember.
I think it was a quick text.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
The whole text induction thing is super hard for me because I'm not a visual person. I think better when I can hear versus like reading. Like now it gets to the point where you say things and my brain automatically reacts because we've worked together for as long as we have. But like, yeah, the whole like people copy paste the scripts thing, I usually end up laughing because it doesn't actually work. It doesn't.
Yeah, your eyes pretty much go out as soon as you start to fade on that. So, but yeah, that's a little bit more on the rapport side of things. But choosing the right words. One thing that I like to tell people is you don't pick your words and put them together in things to make people want to listen. You don't want to demand that they do. You want to make it so that they want to and that they really have no choice.
You almost want to make it so the person is addicted and like needs to keep listening. It's like a freaking drug. It is. So that's my comparison because it is. Deal with it.
Careful on Careful making that comparison.
Well, personal comparison. If we're gonna make gonna make this statement, because I'm making the statement, because why the fuck not? It's and we've talked about this before, you and I have, about the way, it's not what you say, it's the way you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, my stomach just growled. I don't know if that actually picked up on camera. That was super loud. Yes, I'm aware of language. I swear. I'm trying.
You do swear.
I swear a lot.
She swears a lot.
But yeah, no, it's the way you say things. It's not like specific, yeah, it's the words, but it's, the way you say it and the phrasing and the way everything is put together. And yes, I am a sucker for that. Like, that is more attractive to me than, hot guy who doesn't know how the heck to speak, person who knows how to speak eloquently.
With the going back to your Omegle thing of the open your legs, it's especially with what we do, you have the ability to take those words and, as opposed to telling people to open their legs, you pick the right words and you explain to them why they want to open their legs. And then it just sort of comes along with it. So words. Quote Hamlet, right? So I'm going to pull my literary knowledge out there. Terrible.
Nerd.
A little bit. Aww. See, it's just what happens when you let me keep talking. So, and then
you become even more of a nerd than you already are?
Lillian kind of threw that out there as well. It's as far as the people who just throw blocks of words or phrasing at you is you've got to make sure, and even beyond that, you also have to find the words that work for you. And you should never, ever worry about taking a little bit of time to get the hang of it, because I'm sure somebody could probably listen in on one of my sessions, and were they to repeat in the same tone and inflection that I do, it wouldn't work as well for them, because it's not their, it doesn't have that same oomph, because there's not their words.
It's not their style either.
Exactly. So you have to find your words, your style, your way of doing things.
And to piggyback on that, a lot of times, like, I know especially like when you're first starting out, or when I was first learning how to do it, I kind of would like write a script and then while doing voice, do it like word for word. And a lot of times it was just me kind of pulling from other people that I'd kind of listened to and stuff, and then like, yes, this is exactly how I'm gonna do it. I know for a long time I was like trying to follow like ultra hypnosis in the way they word things, and it wasn't my wording, so it didn't sound as natural. So the people who were talking to me and hearing my colloquial like kind of discussion would hear me trying to translate and be like, oh, this sounds like a completely other person, like this isn't the same. So a lot of times you do want to like watch the way that you do that kind of stuff and try and put it into your own words, because I think it does make all the difference when you are getting into that.
It does.
Shelby, you're super cute.
Shush.
Did we get a question and it just didn't alert me? I should have had the questions thing up. Sorry, my phone suggested that I had a question, but apparently we don't have a question, so. Boo.
No, the Q&A box isn't, like, the Q&A, it's empty, so I don't know.
Not sure why my phone gave me that, but that's not a problem. Easy enough to clear on that. So, like I said, it's a little bit on the brief side for what we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Just because one of the things that I'd like to do is have somebody newer to our group or to what we do to have an example of what the difference and how important those words are. We can
You're gonna have
go,
to suck it up and do an earlier chat.
Yeah, I'll have to figure that out. Maybe I can manage
Because
that next week.
it's like 2:40, on the East Coast, and that's super late.
I know. So.
Wait, 2:40 is late?
For some people who haven't gotten used to the West Coast schedule, 2:44 is late. I have basically adjusted my sleep cycle to West Coast to deal to you guys. So
I like that you commented that 2:40 is late when it's usually about 1 o'clock that you're out.
Adjust to our time zone. Do it.
pretty much have. Completely have.
It's the correct time zone.
Well, you know what? It's not my fault that I live on the East Coast. Blame my parents.
You could have moved.
Still tempted to.
Irrelevant.
Shut up.
Back to what we were at.
Back to
We
words.
digress.
So,
Something about words, I think.
just thank you, Thunder. And Sierra is just aggressively muting everybody today. So,
Lily,
no,
Jesus Christ, your mute button, your ban mute button, like, Lord Almighty.
it's automatically doing it?
That's super weird. It's not doing it for me, it just must be for Thunder. It must hate Thunder today.
One of these days we'll have... Well, that was on Shelby. One of these days we'll have a professional setup when we do one of these.
What's professional mean?
I don't know, but I've heard it, and people tell me I need to be that more often, so I'm going to try to figure it out.
Sounds complicated.
Yeah. I don't know if it's popping up for people watching,
It's not, it won't.
but right up here, every single time Thunder says something, a little blue box appears that says that Lillian has muted Thunder.
Mere seconds after he's finished talking.
Like, immediately when he's done talking, it
Yeah,
goes.
it's kind of hilarious, and we're all sitting here giggling about it because it's literally as soon as he's done saying it, he's muted again.
So, a couple more things we can do on the words. If you don't mind, I mean, everybody who watches this is going to know what I do and what all of us do. So I don't think a little bit, as long as we keep it relatively clean, a couple of more examples of using specific words for triggers and things like that. So one of the common triggers that I do, and I apologize for anybody who watches this, who may have worked with me before. So one of the things that we do a lot of erotic stuff, and so there's sensation play and things like that. So one of the common triggers that I use as far as creating a sensation, and I picked a specific word for it because it's a word that emphasizes exactly what the intent of it is quick, intense. It's there and it's gone, and it hits hard and it pops. So there's a little bit of gasping there. So one of the things that I do, Shelby, be nice. So that particular trigger.
Shelby learned from you. She's not a nice human being. It's your fault you corrupted her.
That was way before me.
She's also just adorable, so she gets away with it.
So that particular trigger, and very, very common thing, it doesn't have to do with words, but as far as making triggers and stuff, it's why you see snaps and other quick sounding, like emphatic things to make an emphasis. And so this particular trigger is pop. So it's something that hits hard, it hits quick, it's there and it's gone. And so picking that particular word, that's what you associate with the word pop is like a balloon. It's gone. Like it's a clapping, snapping, things like that. So not everybody uses words along with those sounds and the clapping and the snapping. I tend to be more conversational, so I use a lot of words with my suggestions and triggers and phrases. So, but using the word pop with that is. Apparently, we have a question.
Thank you. I was mid-drink, just choked. You suck.
So she can ask it on the Q&A box. So we can ask for specifics, and she's messaging you on that. So
for those of you who are watching, Sierra just commented that one of our mutual friends has a question about something. So if any of you watching do have a question and this is still live, go ahead and drop it in our Q&A. We'll go ahead and check that out as soon as any of us actually notice, or you can probably pester any of us, and we'll probably have an eye on our phone Also, if this is after, feel free to hit up any one of us. We'll probably put a quick link to our Tumblr post at the end, and you'll be able to hit us up then. Probably Jason would be the best person to ask because he probably has a better idea on most of that stuff. But quick plug.
Oh, so if you
Shameless plugs.
Not on me. So if you can get a little bit more specifics, Lily, from her. She asked, what about repetition versus word variation? Is she asking in what sense? Shelby's at least professional. That might rub off on me.
No, it won't. No, it won't.
It really won't.
Oh, there it goes again.
Repetition, get back on it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the elaboration on the question. Does she mean as far as in suggestions or inductions or... No rush.
In the meantime, would you like to discuss something else so we don't bore our viewers to death?
I could do that a few more times.
We're good. We don't need that. No.
Tone down the cheek, Jace.
Very good tone down.
Thunder, the only reason he's toning down the cheek is because we're live. As soon as it goes off,
I'm well aware of this.
as soon as it goes off, I am probably going to get it because I have been nothing but sassy the entire call. Because I know I can.
I love the sassy. So, but no, so
I'm black. I'm naturally sassy.
I can definitely at least bring up repetition. A lot of times you're going to see, especially with hypnotherapy and stage hypnotists, there's words and phrases repeated multiple times. A lot of that is it's like why you repeat exercises and things like that, or why you recite lines to yourself. Exactly, like shows it deeper and deeper and deeper. It's a word. It's something that you associate. There's that too. So, but if I were to read that out, then okay. So no, that's a really good one from her. I'm surprised she can in her state right now. So as far as repeating words for effect versus hitting that balance between the emphasis on it and getting boring because all you're doing is saying deeper and deeper and deeper over and over and over again, or whatever that word or phrase might be. One of the things that I do for myself is I typically will try to rotate 2 or 3 phrases. That can definitely help. Trying to be a little bit aware of if you're caught in a loop with it. And then, of course, finding your own way. So, and we might have to have you put something together for rhyming. That is not something that I typically do. And if you do that a lot, I think that might be really cool or interesting for people. If you want to prep something for something like that sometimes.
I don't think I've ever actually worked with someone who's done any kind of rhyming. That's actually kind of really neat. I would love to actually hear that.
On the subject side, I've got to say, kind of, like Sierra said, it's like a spell. It kind of makes you kind of feel like you're in a story tale. I love that kind of stuff. Because you're going along and you're like, oh yes, Fantasyland. And for me, it helps me drop even deeper into a better trance because it's like, it puts me in that mindset.
I mostly do it for memory creation and memory play. Like if I want to create a memory and I do rhymes, I make it so that it's like a fantasy that they're experiencing, which is why like sometimes I rhyme. Sometimes I rhyme terribly just to have fun. Like I just figure out the worst rhymes I could possibly think, and then sometimes my good rhymes are actually terrible, which is when I'm like, I thought this rhyme would be amazing, and nope, terrible when I listen to it myself.
No, but seriously, that's actually super interesting because it's like something that, you know, I've never actually experienced before because it's not Jay's thing.
I definitely, on that note, mentioned I do need to do more scenes with you guys. I tend to focus very, very strongly on sensation play stuff.
Hmm.
So definitely something that I can definitely work with.
You do
So
kind of
muscle
when you work with Lily. I think more so than anybody else, especially like when you're doing painting stuff.
I do. Which one of these days we should do a painting on Hanghouse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's been a comment on the video, and it's not showing up as a Q&A. I'm trying to find it on my phone here. But Hangouts is not working properly. Somebody apparently has commented on the video, but I'm not seeing it pop up on here. It's just notifying my phone. Because I know what I'm doing. So, the rhyming. You right there, Shelby? There we go. So I've done, and I'm currently like halfway through and need to finish, is if you're doing certain. So, like Shelby said, we both know why you've come here, rid of all discussions, let your mind clear. That's not bad, actually. Good deal. But then there's also certain things. Oh, well, it probably would have been better if I'd read it the proper way. There's a typo in there. But even certain examples, as far as repetition, is if you can help them get into something where they're going to be deepening themselves is a common one that I use. And there's always the very simple one of the deeper you go, the better you feel. The better you feel, the deeper you go. I often, with the conversational aspect, tend to do certain things like you'll notice that the more intently focused you are on what I have to say, the more your muscles tend to relax. And the more relaxed your muscles get, the easier it is to give me more of that focus. So as you give me your focus, the muscles relax. And as they relax, you have more and more of that focus freed up to give back into me. And before long, you're very intently focused, and everything is tightened around you. You lose your awareness of what's going on, and all you really want to do is keep listening because it feels good, because you're so relaxed, and that just helps you focus even more. And the more intently focused you are, the more relaxed you get. It's such a wonderful feeling. Go ahead, up, up, up. So that's one of those things is you pick those words, and even if you're going to be repeating a phrase over and over again, I like to add a little bit of variation in there. Is in between the phrases, I might add an extra word or an extra phrase, or mix it up a little bit. That way you're still on that same repetition. It's a familiar concept. It's something that they're doing over and over and over again, but it's not the exact same robotic phrasing, and adds a little bit more personality to it and keeps it at least a little bit. It makes you want to listen more because you want to know, oh, there's something new going to get thrown in this time. So, I do wish the little preview pictures down there wouldn't freeze constantly. That's okay. I think we've covered a lot of the basics, a little bit more on words than I honestly had intended. So if anybody wants to throw out anything, the remaining stuff, next time I definitely want to go a little bit deeper into the words and definitely some more on rapport as well. Hopefully we have some folks that we can do some examples of. I would love to at some point do some demos on the video other than people that I've worked with to the point where all I really have to do is drop my finger down and they're gone. It's a little bit less interactive and a little bit less entertaining for people. So we'll do a little quick shameless plug if anybody wants to pop up what their blog is.
I'm listlessly wondering. You guys can find me there, so feel free. And then Sierra Lily, the other old girl, is My Internal Needs.
So, Thunder or Ed, do you guys want to promote yours?
I just read Black Spiral, so mine is like nothing.
So mine is Hypno Junkie. It's the same username, screen name I use for pretty much everything these days.
Except for your Snapchat. Your Snapchat has a different one, I think.
That's because I use it for personal things, so I try to use a variation of it that isn't going to get me weird looks from actual friends. They know I'm weird enough as it is.
Mine is, I think it's Brain Dead Dolly, isn't it? Something along those lines.
That's your new one.
I have two. That is the one that I'm using currently. I'm not using the other one. But yeah, Brain Dead Dolly on Tumblr.
Thunder, did you want to pitch yours?
Nah, I've got nothing worth looking at really at the time being. That may change later, but
all right, no worries. So thank you for everybody who's watched, and everybody who does watch once the broadcast goes up on YouTube. We will continue to try to do these. I think we've gotten some refinement done, and I think we're making some progress on that end as well. So hopefully these will just keep getting better for everybody.
It's just getting you to agree to do it earlier from now on.
It's not a matter of agreement. It's a matter of, do you want a screaming 5-year-old in the background?
She's adorable. Sit in front of Disney Infinity. It'll be entertaining for everybody.
So thank you again for everybody who's watched, everybody who watches in the future. Hopefully you learned something. I am always more than happy. You can comment on the videos, you can message me, you can email me, or any of us. The reason we do this is to try to educate as best we can. So not only do I want to know, and do we all want to know, whether or not the information we're giving is good is we're not perfect. So if there's something that you'd like to add on to or correct, anything like that, please feel free to do so, because we want everybody to have a good foundation of stuff to work from, because all of this should be fun. And the more mistakes and the more hiccups that we can prevent for people, the more fun y'all can have sooner. So thank you again, and good night, everybody.